Good afternoon, everyone. It is Group Three's greatest pleasure to present to you on lattice structures, focusing on the tetragonal. The group members are Adrian C. Prasad, yours truly, Malika Williams, Pauline Prasad, Emily Jadnot, Davina Prasad, Chavez Mahadio, and Shania Gear. I will go straight into the presentation.
Lattice. A lattice is an ordered array of points describing the arrangement of particles that form a crystal. There are 7 crystal systems, and if the lattice points are only at the corners of the unit cell, then it is a primitive unit cell, or primitive lattice. It can be advantageous if additional lattice points are added to the unit cell. In this case, the symmetry will not change, but the metric of the unit cell changes towards a better representation of the underlying symmetry of the lattice. If further lattice points are added, then we have 7 more lattice types, which means that we will now have a total of 14, and this would lead us to the Bravais lattices. A Bravais lattice is basically an array of separate points with an arrangement and orientation that looks exactly the same from any of the distinct points. That is, lattice points are indistinguishable from one another. A Bravais lattice can therefore refer to one of the 14 different types of unit cells that a crystal structure can be made up of. These lattices are named after the French physicist Auguste Bravais. I'll now hand you over to my colleague who will continue from here.
Tetragonal lattice structure. The tetragonal lattice structure is one of the structural categories to which crystalline solids can be assigned. Crystals in this system are referred to 3 mutual perpendicular axes, 2 of which are equal in length. Next slide.
Types of tetragonal lattice structures. There are basically 2 types of tetragonal systems. The first one is the simple tetragonal cells, or the primitive tetragonal cell. And the second one is the body-centered tetragonal cell.
Simple tetragonal. Simple or primitive tetragonal lattice, also known as tetragonal P, has one lattice point at each corner of the unit cell. In the diagram, each bold dot represents one lattice point. It has 8 lattice points in all. Next to the diagram, an illustration shows the relationship between the vectors and the interaxial angles of one lattice point. A is equal to B, but is not equal to C. The alpha is equal to the beta and is also equal to the gamma, which gives us 90 degrees.
Body-centered tetragonal. Body-centered tetragonal lattice, like all lattices, has lattice points at the 8 corners of the unit cell plus an additional point at the center of the cell. It has a unit cell vectors A is equal to B, but is not equal to C, and interaxial angles alpha is equal to beta, which is equal to gamma, which is equal to 90 degrees. The diagram next to it is showing this. Is illustrating this.
Coordination and atom number. The coordination number of an atom or ion within an extended structure is defined as the number of nearest neighbor atoms or ions of opposite charge that are in contact with it, and the tetragonal packaging arrangement has a sphere density of 71.87%. Now we have the coordination number and number of atom per unit cell for the simple tetragonal and body center tetragonal. Now the coordination number for a simple tetragonal is 6, and the number of atom per unit cell is 1, while the body center tetragonal's coordination number is 8, and the number of atoms per unit cell is 2. Next slide, please. Now, since the coordination number is the number of nearest neighboring atoms that are in contact with a single atom, like I said before, simple tetragonal is coordination number 6, body centered is 8. And if you look at the diagram, the first one in the white shows the simple tetragonal, and the second one in the gray shows the body centered tetragonal. And the coordination number of a simple tetragonal is 6, and you end up with this number by counting how much atoms would possibly contact that single atom. And if you look at the first one there, in the white, you would have an atom, one touching it running up, one running down, one running left and right, and one running back and front, giving you 6 neighboring atoms coming into contact with that one atom. And the coordination number of the body center tetragonal is 8. And a simpler way to know the number of atoms coming into contact with that one atom is to use the atom in the middle to connect the other atoms to it. So you would have 8 if you count on the second one in the gray. And as I mentioned before, the simple tetragonal has 1 atom per unit cell. And you get this because each corner atom contributes 1/8 to a unit cell. And simple tetragonal has 8 corner atoms. So to calculate the number of atoms per unit cell, you multiply 1/8 by 8, giving you 1. And for the body center tetragonal, this also has 8 corner atoms, but an extra atom in the middle. So to find the number of atoms per unit cell, again you multiply 1/8 by 8, giving you 1, and the total number of atoms in a unit cell for body center tetragonal would be equal to the 1 that you just calculate, plus the 1 extra atom in the middle, giving you 2. And the packaging order, it would show as the diagram below. Now the simple tetragonal would be like the ones in the white. Each faces of it would be attached to another atom, which would be side by side or up and down. And the body center tetragonal would be this whole thing at the bottom, and others will keep adding on to the faces of both the white and the gray points there. Thank you.
Um, on the left, we have a apophyllite type tetragonal pyramidal class, and on the right, we have chalcopyrite. I don't know to pronounce this one properly, but tetragonal scalohedral class. So, give me a second. The cross section of minerals normal to the c-axis in the tetragonal system is usually square. Although the corners may be modified, the cross-sectional shape together with the fourfold axis of rational symmetry makes minerals reasonably easy to identify with the system. There are, of course, some problems. One of them occur with an ORTHORHMOBAC. I don't know how to pronounce the word. Orthophobic crystals has an A-axis and a B-axis. They are very nearly equal in length. So now, in the examples here, we have this one here is from the pyramidal class. As you can see, it's not square. The sides are, but it's not entirely square. Could you have a minute, please? Yeah, the sides are square, but it's in a pyramidal shape. So yeah. Next person, next slide.
The wolfenite. So the wolfenite is also an example of the tetragonal crystal as well as the lamanskite. The wolfenite is a lead molybdate mineral, and it can be most often found as thin tabular crystals with a bright orange, red or a yellow to orange color. It can be brown at times. Although the color can be highly variable, in its yellow form it is sometimes called the yellow lead ore. However, in this case it's the wolfenite. It crystallizes in the tetragonal system, often occurring as stubby pyramidal or tabular crystals. It also occurs it also occurs as earthy granular masses, and it is found in many localites associated with lead ores as a secondary mineral associated with oxidized zone of lead deposit. It is also a secondary ore of molybdenum and is sought by collectors. The Lemansky tetragonal is a dark sky blue with a light blue streak. It is it is brittle with an excellent cleavage plane. Lamanskite normally forms with a habit of very large nodules up to 5 centimeters long. It can also form with veins of quartz. Lamanskite has two different types of occurrences, the needle shape and the rosette shape aggregates. Thank you very much. And there ends our presentation on tetragonal. Any questions, please direct it to the group on a later basis.